here at the Glengyle Distillery making Kilkerran Scotch single malt. And this is one of my favorite setups of a distillery. It literally is a linear kind of description of how whiskey is made in Scotland and around the world, with the grain coming in right to here into a giant Scottish hot tub. And we're going to start at this point.
And then it finishes way down here with the still.
But on its journey from here to there, we're going to make a kind of a hot porridge using that malted barley that's been ground up, drain the sugary water out called wort into the fermenters, literally just a few feet away from what we call the mash tun. And then the yeast is pitched in, makes a kind of a light beer, somewhere between 5-6% alcohol up to about 10% alcohol, and then onto the stills at the very end where it's distilled, condensing the alcohol and removing it, leaving the water behind. And there are two types of stills that we have, a wash still and a low wine still. The wash still is usually the first stage, and you can usually tell that in a distillery because it's slightly larger than the low wine still. And the low wine still is the second distillation. It's charged or filled from what comes out of the larger still. It's condensed down, then goes into that, and is condensed even further down to get to what they're going to put into the barrel or the barrel cask strength that they're going to age it at. And you can see some of the condensers, which are shell and tube condensers, right behind those stills. They're inside here, and they're those kind of vertical columns right behind the still made out of copper. So an easy pictorial description of how whiskey is made from the start with the grain here, to the sugary water, to the fermented beer, which is called wash, and then into two distillation processes, condensed down, and then into a receiver that before it goes into the barrels.
Is most people think that the still ends here. And what you're not seeing, and we're going to show you downstairs, is the still goes down, another 10 feet at least?
Yeah, there's
at least.
Good bit.
Yeah, so, there's stuff underneath this, so that you're not, like, it's sort of hidden from the general view. With this distillery, you can actually start seeing that stuff.
Right. L-Y-N-E. And the line arm is how the vapor escapes from what they call the alembic, or the head of the still. And this was previously, correct me if I'm wrong, but was at a downward slope, which tends to indicate that you're going to get a heavier spirit.
Yes, absolutely.
Because as the oilier or heavier compounds get over the top, they kind of make a mad rush down to the condenser.
Yeah.
But here they have to fight harder or be more aromatic and estery to climb up instead of draining as a liquid back into the reflux.
So you're getting in more delicate flavors and spirit that's going
lighter
over.
style.
Lighter style. I love. Can I just say, when we started off, I love the fact that we're actually standing right here under the stills, because this is not typical.
What we're looking at right here is the bottom part of the still that most people never see.
Right.
And the brick part that's right behind me is part of what would have been the furnace or the kind of oven that they could have created a fire, sometimes cold fire. You can kind of see through the room here.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, they're just using it as a support base, and they're going to use a steam jacket to heat inside the still. It's much more efficient, and they can control the heat much better than a fire that might have hot or cold spots. But this part right here is going to be copper, and you can kind of see a little bit of the copper patina, but sometimes it's often painted just to delineate from the shiny part that's up above. And you're seeing this underside that most people think is just kind of cut off when they look at a distillery or distillery pictures and see the still. And here it is stretching up, and you're seeing the part that you're going to do most of the boiling or heat work. It goes up through the head of the still, and that's usually the shiny copper part that everyone looks at. Some people feel it's like swan-shaped or onion-shaped. And then at the very top, you're seeing that large copper pipe, and this is called the line arm, L-Y-N-E. And this particular one has got a slight incline upwards, and then into our condenser that we're looking at the very bottom side, so almost straight up to the condenser. Inside that condenser, it's a shell of copper with cold water running inside that big copper tube, and inside the copper and water are smaller tubes, typically of copper as well, that will have the vapor coming through it. And so it'll cool the vapor down to a temperature below 173, 174 degrees Fahrenheit, and that will condense it into a clear liquid. Most people don't realize what comes off the still is going to be clear, almost like a vodka, because it picks up its color and flavor in the barrels as well. So the underside, the underbelly of the beast, but really where most of the work is happening in a still, not the pretty face that we see up above ground.
This is after it goes through that condensing unit and it flows through the still safe, and we take our cuts. This is where the hard ends up.
This is where the good stuff goes.
The good stuff goes.
Yeah.
So we got everything now. This is actually ready to go off and be barreled.
Absolutely.
What's the technical name of that piece of equipment?
Spirit receiver.
Spirit receiver.
Spirit
It's a bit of a wide receiver.
And again, you just sort of get to see this right off of where the still is, and a lot of times it's hidden or it's in the back or something like that, where you can actually follow back down through this particular distillery. You can actually see everything that's going on with the distillation process. People would say, like, this is the ugly side, but to me, you see this, you realize how beautiful it is, and just the engineering and everything that takes to put the whole thing together to actually produce a great liquid and a great spirit.